We are sacred people. We are sacred people not because we share this Unitarian Universalist faith, but simply because we are people. We exist in this world. We move through this life as fragile yet powerful people. We feel, we love, we anger, we heal, we hurt, and we keep moving. We make and break promises. We return to one another. We sleep late and we rise early. We are the sum of our existence and the variable in others' lives. We are a sacred people, and we are entering into a sacred time. Our time here this morning is not sacred because it is a Unitarian Universalist worship service. Rather, this time is sacred because we have come together as people. This is our returning to one another. This is our making and breaking of promises. This is where we choose to form our personal faith and to create a larger faith tradition. This time is sacred. And so before we begin, let us pause for a moment. Let us take a breath together, breathing in the sanctity of ourselves in this hour. Let us choose to be here, present and accounted for. Our human fragility worn on our sleeves, our powerful hearts leading the way. Let us breathe the sacred, and let us worship together.
We're not primarily a church or a congregation of ritual. And yet this morning we're going to engage in some ritual. And I find it very meaningful that we do so because that ritual is grounded in covenant. Covenant refers to solemn agreements and commitments that we make to each other as people in our dealings with each other and in our dealings with the rest of the world. And in my brief comments now, I want to assure you that the Board of Trustees, and to my knowledge, the rest of our leadership in this congregation, adhere to the covenants of right relations that we have established for ourselves and to the 7 principles that have been a part of Unitarian Universalism for many years. And so, for example, I'll just point out a few others, a few of these covenants that, reading from the Covenant of Regulations as examples of what the trustees, me being the president of the board, are engaged in and how we bear these things in mind. We always try to treat others with kindness and care, dignity, and respect. We foster an environment of compassion, generosity, fellowship, creativity. We share in the responsibilities of congregational life. I think that would be clear, otherwise we wouldn't be trustees, we wouldn't have volunteered to do that. We speak truth as each of us experiences it, and we listen to all points of view. And this is something that I particularly encourage as the board president, that I tell people all the time in the boardroom, I've got to hear what you have to say about this. I want to hear what you have to say about this. Because I think We need to shed more light on issues that we grapple with. We practice direct communication and speak to the individual, not about them. We act with respect and humility when we disagree with others. There are disagreements in the boardroom, I can tell you that for sure, but normally they're productive ones. There are differences of opinion that we receive with respect from each other. We seek out understanding and wisdom in the presence of conflict. And we attempt to write policy that deals effectively with conflict and enables people to work through conflict in community as a part of the religious community. We're true to our chosen paths, although our ways may twist and turn, and we support others in their journeys. From time to time, we check in at board meetings, we reveal to each other that we have little struggles going on in our lives. And we like to know that so that we can give just a little bit more support in that direction. And it's always appreciated. And we resolve conflicts through intentional compromise and collaboration, and when necessary, we request facilitation and or mediation. Usually, we're able to work those out pretty effectively, given the attitude that we have about adhering to this covenant and adhering to the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism. And finally, I'd like to point out something that I need to be reminded of from time to time, and I think you probably do as well. We sometimes are accused of being a religious tradition that really doesn't have any solid doctrine, is not founded in anything in particular, where people can do whatever they want to do, so to speak. But I look at it in a different fashion. This word covenant that we use, to me, is a very powerful basis for everything that we do here. And it has everything to do about how we treat each other, the planet, and how we act with each other and with people outside of this congregation who we interact with. So to me, covenant is very important. It's always on the front burner. It's always something that I try to remain aware of. And I'm grateful that the other trustees work with me in that regard.
My friends, this morning is a joyous occasion, an occasion that recognizes and welcomes Dante Richard Barrera into this world and circle of love. Every day that a child is born is a miracle, an opportunity to recognize the power of love, a day to give thanks for the beauty of the earth, a day to recognize that no one is brought up alone and that every person born is a savior to the world. To watch a child grow is a privilege, one that calls us to a higher plane of living, a call to support, to love, and to cherish all the child is and is becoming. Welcome to the circle of love as we work to dedicate ourselves and each other to the care and tending of Dante. Starling and Jay, will you please bring Dante forward? We recognize all who have gathered here now and those who are far away from us in distance and time. We honor the ancestors who have left this world, but not our hearts, and we welcome them here in our minds today. And we begin with a poem from the poet Hafiz. What is the root of all these words? One thing, love. But a love so deep and sweet, it needed to express itself with scents, sounds, and colors that never before existed. Starling and Jay, are you ready to dedicate Dante to the world?
Yes.
Okay. Will you make a covenant of care for Dante, a promise to love him with all your heart and soul? Will you raise Dante to love justice and live with compassion? Will you extend to him kindness and courage? And will you encourage Dante to live out his biggest dreams? I invite all of our small children to come forward now. You all are important to Dante too, so I'm going to ask you guys to make a promise. Will you promise to love Dante as your own brother, to play with him and call him friend, and will you teach him all the wonders of life as you learn and discover? If you guys will do that, say I will. Thank you. You can stay up here for the rest of it, or you can go back to your seats. I just wanted you to see Dante and what you were promising. I invite the congregation now to rise in body and in spirit as you are able. As the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ogden community, will you promise to care for Dante? Will you help raise him to love justice and live with compassion? Will you extend your own kindness and courage? And will you encourage Starling J's son to live out his biggest dreams?
We will.
As you are able, please stay standing with us as we bless Dante with the wonders of this earth. Dante, this is water. May you always find your thirst quenched. May you know the joy of hard work. May your tears be cared for. May you dance in rain and jump in pools and puddles. Dante, you are water. Dante, that was air. May your lungs be full of fresh, sweet air. May you know the joy of a good laugh. May you find your voice through song, whispers, and shrieks. May you have a life full of scents, breezes, and sighs. Dante, you are air. And Dante, this is fire. May it remind you of the divine spark of all of creation that is in you. May it inspire your commitment for love and justice. May you be kept warm by the community around you. May all your days be bright. And Dante, you are fire. Dante, this is ash made from the earth's wonders. May you know the beauty of the earth. May you know that the earth provides all you need. May everywhere you go be blessed by your presence. May all your work be a blessing to the world. May all you do be from your heart, and may it bring joy to the world. Dante, you are the earth. My friends, it is with great joy that I present to you another gift to this world, a blessing to all of us, and to a joy to all who may meet him. Dante Richard Herrera. And now I invite the members of the Board of Trustees to come forward now and join me at the table. In a free religious community, to serve is the highest expression of our commitment and love. To be asked to lead is among the highest honors. Okay, I like being among giants. This morning, the UUCO members we have chosen to lead us in the coming years stand before you and kneel. The relationship between a congregation and board is one of deep respect and mutual regard. We have asked them to take on the holy work of discernment and guidance. They need you to support them in their work, share ideas and concerns in love, and to offer them trust as they fulfill their office faithfully. The work of the church is in the work of the people. It is the work of building the world of which we dream. It may require time spent poring over budget sheets, hours spent in meetings where small details are hashed out. It may manifest in shared laughter or outright frustration from time to time. But it is always sacred, for it is in pursuit of our great truth that love is the spirit of this church and service its law. As a symbol that the work is always shared, we will engage in the ritual that often accompanies the installation of anyone in our professional UU ministry, the laying on of hands. And so, as you are able and comfortable, please join hands with your neighbor and place your hand gently on the shoulder of the person in front of you. This may require people to move forward in the pews, and that's okay. Connect until each part of the circle is in community. Come forward, it's okay. Thank you. Service is an act of faith. Service done faithfully in love is the work of justice and community building. This is what you have asked these people before you to do this morning, that they serve you faithfully and well. To do this, they need your trust and support. I ask now the members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ogden, will you offer love and trust to your board, responding when they seek your input, showing up when they tell you that the work needs to be shared, and listening carefully when they speak of the life of the church?
We will.
And Board of Trustees, will you be diligent and faithful in your work, bringing your best selves and practicing self-care and open-heartedness, tending with love the details of the work, and always keeping the great truth in front of you as you serve?
We will.
We will.
According to the American Heritage Dictionary, a commissioning is the act of granting certain powers or authority to carry out a particular task or duty. In many churches, there is a common misconception that the leaders of the church run things, that the board or the leadership council has all sorts of power to get things done, and that everyone else essentially coasts along following the direction the leaders have set. This is not true, especially for UUs. As a congregationally based tradition, all power in Unitarian Universalist churches comes up through the congregation and is bestowed upon the leaders to carry out specific service for the good of the whole. Today, then, we take this reality seriously and formally bestow upon our chosen leaders the authority they need to carry out the works we have assigned them. This commissioning service is an opportunity to give our blessings to the ministries these leaders will provide in the coming year, and to affirm their sense of calling to the roles of the services they claim, and to which we have elected or appointed them as leaders. To be sure, there are people who give much to this church of their time and their talents whose names are not called this morning and who are not standing with us. And there are people on this list who do things for which they are not now being recognized. This service does not diminish our deep gratitude or recognition of these works. It is not an attempt to honor all who serve in this community. Our intent today, in this moment, is much more modest. We seek to affirm those whom have set apart through election, appointment, and hiring, those who have taken upon themselves one of the institutionally recognized roles of leadership. Yet this, in itself, is no small thing. These leaders need our blessing if they are to do what we have asked them to do. They need our affirmation and our support, for they are no different than the rest of us. Yet they have entered into the ministries of leadership for all our sake. Here are then the names of those elected, appointed, and hired into leadership in our congregation. Bill Hackett, President, Board of Trustees. Holly Leek, Trustee on the Board of Trustees. Peter LeCain, Trustee on the Board of Trustees. Jeff Lensman, Treasurer on the Board of Trustees and Chair of the Finance Committee. Craig Stiles, Trustee on the Board of Trustees. Nicole Bertellamy, Coordinator of Family Promise. Tom Priest, Chair of the Music Council. Evelyn Burleson, Chair of the Religious Exploration Council. Marilyn Johnson, Chair of the Religious Exploration Council. Reagan Dyer, Building Sexton and UUCO staff. Carlene Valentine, Church Administrator on the UUCO staff. Beth Dion, Music Director on UUCO staff. And Starley Jasperera, Director of Religious Exploration on our UUCO staff. These are the people we have called to serve us. Will the congregation please rise in body and in spirit and join in the service of commissioning? We, the members of this congregation, charge you to be guided in your work by the vision we express in our unison affirmations and by the principles we affirm in common. We charge you to affirm the dignity and worth of all persons and to champion the rights of children, youth, women, and men, straight and gay, old and young, of all racial identities, of all genders, that this might indeed be a free church open to all people. We charge you to cherish our spiritual diversity and to help us live together so that we are strengthened rather than divided by our religious pluralism, so that we might truly create an inclusive community that encourages freedom in the quest for spiritual and intellectual growth. We charge you to honor our past without being bound by it, that we might be mindful of our past, yet draw on modern knowledge as we respond to the spiritual needs of persons. We charge you to hold in your hearts the needs of the wider community in which we live, so that we live out our devotion to the advancement of social justice in this world. Members of the board, you are charged with keeping sight of the big picture, with holding our vision, honoring our past, and guiding us towards future. Are you ready and willing to accept this charge?
Yes.
Congregation, are you ready and willing to support them in their charge?
Yes.
Committee and council leaders, you and staff, you were charged with keeping sight of your particular piece of the community's mosaic, with advocating for the needs of the area of our communal life, which is your specific concern, and working with one another for the common good of the whole. Are you ready and willing to accept this charge?
Yes.
And congregation, are you ready and willing to support it?
We are.
Do you, the members and friends of this congregation, affirm these elected and appointed leaders as volunteers who need your support, your participation, and your appreciation, as well as your caring and concern?
Yes.
Grateful for your willingness to take on the responsibilities of leadership in our community, we affirm your calling and vow to support your ministries of leadership in every way we can. We encourage you to take care of yourselves as you take care of us, and to remember that you are part of this community, even while you lead us. In response to and as a sign of this affirmation of your call to service, I follow the ancient tradition of anointing you with our sacred water that has been blessed in the name of all that is beautiful, true, and good. As this water absorbs into your skin, may you absorb into your soul all the love and good wishes which surround you in this moment. For all that has been, thanks. For all that will be, yes.